hear now from Mary Leslie from the LA Business Council about feed-in tariff and an exciting initiative that they pushed forward, and I think it's been successful. So let you.
All right, and our final speaker, Mary Leslie. She's currently president of the LA Business Council. She has a very long and distinguished career in the private sector as a business leader, advocacy, and today she'll talk about some work on the renewable.
We can't hear you.
Oh, is that right? Mary Leslie, president, LA Business Council.
Thank you. How do I forward? Just click? Perfect. Okay. Well, nobody's ever accused me of not being able to hear me, so I should be good since I have a very loud voice. Also, I'm very happy to be here today, and I feel like what I'm really bringing, and what I'm really talking about is almost like a case study of how sausage is made. I think we're the official guinea pigs today. So with that, I'm just going to go through quickly a little bit about what happened in Los Angeles and why it happened, because I know you're interested in the political barriers and how sausage is made. So what happened here in Los Angeles essentially was our mayor announced back in November of 2008 that he wanted 1,200 megawatts of solar. And this was something that his general manager at the Department of Water and Power said. It was part of our renewable portfolio. I'm not really sure exactly where it came from. Maybe Marvin knows. The Los Angeles Business Council, you'd say, well, why would we care about an announcement like that? Now, for us, we represent a lot of major property owners, commercial, industrial, retail, and we have been strong advocates working with the mayor for the last now almost 7 years, on green issues like energy efficiency, green buildings. And so we've been very active in this area. So for us, a solar announcement that contained a feed-in tariff was modestly interesting to us. We were, well, what is a feed-in tariff? How would that work? Et cetera. Now, what appealed to us about it was its simplicity, and it's basically a contract. So this is why we got into this issue, and essentially why we have been involved for the last 4 years. So for us, we started to look at the basic facts, as a business group. Why would we care? And we actually came to UCLA, and UCLA was the Luskin Center for Innovation. J.R. DeShazo, the director, actually was the person that we contracted with to lead our coalition. And what we did is we put a group of business owners together with nonprofits and government entities, so hospitals, schools, and others, and we started to explore what this was, and what we came to was establishing what the benefits would be, and what we did is we did a lot of the economic modeling around it, what the solar potential was in Los Angeles, how much it would cost, who would benefit. And the short list of benefits, and this is what's important politically, of course, is you don't really want to engage in research and policy that doesn't have benefits that everyone can embrace as you go to get the policy implemented. So what we found was there was really nothing not to like about the feed-in tariff, actually. I mean, we had plenty of examples of where it had gotten implemented well, generated a lot of jobs, created a lot of economic development, and then we had plenty of examples of where it wasn't well implemented, they overpaid, the programs were out of control and oversubscribed. But I think the good news is when you're not the first into the market, you have the benefit of learning about what's going on in the market. And I think from our perspective, we were never going to grab somebody else's program and implement it here. We were always much more interested in creating a program, which was, looking back now, extremely ambitious. At the time, I think we were naive enough to know that what we didn't know, so it kind of worked out. So we sort of entered into this in a really naive way, which, as it turns out, was probably a good thing, because then we had to build from the ground up. So in the spirit of that, what we started to see was, that all the places that were in feed-in tariff, there was tremendous economic investment. And fast jobs, quick jobs, and that it was benefiting a very broad-based group of people. So the economic development alone was, for a business group, a major motivation for us. What it would do in terms of clean technology and continuing to grow LA's capacity in this area, we thought was also very valuable. the fact that it would bring in billions of new investment was extremely attractive, and that it would give the community a way to be part of the renewable portfolio. You know, as Marvin said, the utility has a plan, and their job is low rates and reliability. But I guess for us, we were like, okay, but this is a new era, the RPS, right? And there's these regulatory drivers, so maybe there should be some new players. So this was, I think, the other thing we were doing is we were introducing new players into this whole energy solution. So to that end, that was really our strong motivation. Okay, so what happened? You know, we're in a highly regulated environment. The biggest drivers were the government and these RPS goals. The other big driver was the federal tax credits. Really had created a market for business. The 30% tax credit plus an additional 10% in California if you developed renewables in low-income areas. Then the federal government decided to give cash back for 2 years, the last 2 years on. So essentially, if you installed solar, 40% of it was being paid for. So that was not such a bad deal, particularly if you're doing large-scale solar in the desert. The other issue was, of course, we were looking at what Marvin just explained, which is, you know, DWP is going to turn over 70% of its generation capacity in the next, 20 years. So something's going to fill the gap. So this is an opportunity. The actual proposal, what happened was we did a lot of research. We did a lot of research here at UCLA on economic modeling. We designed a feed-in tariff. We figured out what the economic implications were. We figured out what the price points were. And then we actually went to USC, highly unusual, UCLA USC team, and we looked at some of the social equity issues, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the proposal we came up with was really the mayor's initial commitment. The mayor had committed of the 1,200 megawatts of distributed generation for solar. He called for 150 megawatts. So we stayed with the 150 megawatt commitment. And right now, we're very happy to say that yesterday the mayor signed the ordinance that created the program, and then the Department of Water and Power, I hope in their infinite wisdom, Tuesday will adopt the program, and then we'll be off to the races here with the first 10 megawatts of FIT, and then we'll be phasing in 75 megawatts by the end of the year, assuming DWP gets the rate increase they richly deserve, and then we'll have an additional 75 megawatts within the next year, and then our goal is for 150 megawatts to be teed up and ready to go by the end of 2014, because for businesses to receive the federal tax credits, you have to actually have constructed your project. So we want to make sure that nobody loses their eligibility because the federal tax credits are only guaranteed through 2016. Let's see. So what's the impact of even a 150 megawatt program by 2016? It's basically $500 million in new investment. The tariff paid by the department is a 20-year contract. We worked a lot with the department on an easy application. A lot of we learned a lot off of the CSI program, the California Solar Initiative program, which was Governor Schwarzenegger's program, A Million Roofs. So we were able to look at that program, what worked, what didn't work. Big application processes are a big problem. So we simplified it. DWP, to their credit, now has the FIT application down to 4 pages. Okay, that's unheard of. It was like Germany. Germany's application is 5 pages. So we consider this a huge breakthrough, because what it will do is it will not, people who appropriately should be in the pool will go into the pool, and people that shouldn't won't be wasting their time. So it's a very, I think, good thing that the Department of Water and Power has done. It will also generate close to 4,500 new jobs, and we did a lot of work. We did an entire study just on what the workforce potential in Los Angeles is, because we wanted to know whether or not we were connecting the dots. And this is a huge issue in the whole green job debate, the political debate about, the future economics of the country, and is green jobs going to save us and all that. So we wanted to take a look at, how the federal government had underwritten a lot of solar installer training It turns out we're over 2,100 people have been trained in solar installation each year for the last 5 years. But then when you start to drill down on that, you find that half of them do not have jobs. The other half are not working here. They're driving hours to other places to work. So we really wanted to see if we could connect up the policy to, this new policy to what the actual workforce was in Los Angeles. So this is the other objective that we worked on, was that the good news is we have a very adequately prepared workforce for solar. So that's the good news. The other thing is the environmental benefits of a program like this. Now, of course, this energy is going to be offset by other energy, but still what solar energy does do is it's essentially clean, and upwards of 2.2 million metric tons of CO2 is what 150 megawatts will reduce, and that we figure roughly 3,400 households. That's actually homes. If you do households, we think you get to times that number by 4. So, for instance, if we targeted the entire program on multifamily apartment buildings, that number would be 120,000 households or something to that effect. Okay, so. Does LA have the capacity to support this program? This was all part of our basic research. It turns out we have 19 gigawatts of solar rooftop potential in the county. In the city, we have 5 gigawatts of solar rooftop potential. This is even if you discount for shadowing and shading and air conditioning units and whatever. What was interesting about it was we knew the vast majority of it would be commercial and industrial. What we didn't know is almost 2 gigawatts would be single-family homes. And that this multifamily homes, the 1.4, the 1,400 essentially megawatt potential, those are all multifamily apartment buildings. So we actually did one full study on the potential multifamily, because we think this is an entire market that's been left out, and it's a really important market politically. Because about the barriers, one big barrier is you had a lot of elected officials, which this helps point out, who had been supporting renewable portfolios for a long time. But quite frankly, they were really not so happy when you come back to ask for incentives for DG, when they say, listen, I haven't seen any solar in my district. Okay, I see solar in the west side, I see solar here, there, not in my district. And so what was happening is whole districts in Los Angeles, whole council districts in Los Angeles, the solar, the CSI program wasn't touching. So what we said is, okay, that's a legitimate concern. So why is that true, and how could you change that? So what we started to realize is on the market-driven side, you'll see that the first 5 council people listed here, and by the way, these are the old districts, because as you know, we have a new plan, but just stay with me for a while, because basically the Valley is the big winner in Los Angeles. That's where some of the best solar potential is. It'll be on warehouses. I'm sure Marvin will end up, those will be the first ones chosen in the first 10 megawatt program, and they should be, because they have the best solar potential. But what we learned was that because of that 1,400 megawatts, that we have tremendous opportunity on the multifamily apartment buildings. And as you know or don't know, over 75% of Angelenos are apartment dwellers or renters. So we think it's essential that this program reach renters. And so I don't think I have it with me today, but we have we developed a map that shows the hotspots in Los Angeles, and essentially they're in Pacoima, Koreatown, and downtown. So if we targeted the policy in, which I think even in the demo, the 2 megawatt portion will target the multifamily apartment buildings, we would reach renters. Okay, so who supports it? We very unusual cast of characters supported this. Our primary partner was the Sierra Club, which for a business group is highly unusual. We had, as you can see, a great variety. We had essentially 8 council people, which was critical, because part of what happened politically is that even though the Department of Water and Power is a proprietary agency and it has a board, it does have a relationship and full partnership with the LA City Council, which I believe is only strengthened thanks to some of those new initiatives. So the council and their oversight had a lot to do with the development of this program, and as you can see, we had a very broad-based coalition. And then the policy and political timeline. This is somewhat lengthy, and I'll go through it quickly, but basically the mayor announced the commitment We did the research, a lot of research, and we developed a coalition, and we made a proposal. Now, our proposal is for 600 megawatts, which we're still very committed to by 2020. We still want this program to scale up once we can establish on a smaller scale that it is successful. So, but now you see that we're launching the program. And I think those are the high points.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.